Well, I've been doing a little bit more work on the MG42. I eventually went out and got another gas bottle, and I've done a little bit more welding on here. I may do some more to fill it in, depending on whether I feel it's necessary or not. Yeah, so that's the open side there, welded in here, blended it in a little bit. Once the actual colour, once I've blackened it, it won't look quite so bad. Won't be getting any filler in this because I'll be heat bluing it, and you can't do things like that. It won't be painting it. Right, next thing I started to do is make the top cover. Yeah, so what I've done is I've measured all the dimensions of this off and marked them all out on plate steel, which is approximately 2mm thick. Obviously when you look at this side on, you can see there's a section here which is slightly out of alignment with that section, and then you've got the flat area here at the top. So you've got that part which is around 12 centimeters long, then you've got that part there which is around about 14, and then you've got that which is approximately 6. Now, so my cat's not going to like this, she's hiding under the cover here. Yeah, so we've got the receiver casing, which is, as I said, 2 inches wide, 50mm. So the top cover has to be slightly wider than that. Basically, you form this top cover, you get the total length of it, yeah, when it's flat. Then you have to put cuts. This is just a bit of spacing at the moment while I add the cover on the top to keep the shape. So where you make the bends in this, you obviously have to put cuts in the side where, when the metal's shaped down, you can then weld it all up again. Yeah, obviously that one is an outward cut, an outward bend. So that's just a simple slot. This one here, you have to have a slot in it which is V-shaped, which is approximately 5mm open at this end here. Yeah, so that when you bend it in, you get about approximately the right angle on it. You may also need to, once you've done it, you want to straighten this metal up here. I've also got to fill in a little bit of missing metal here because it's just scrap steel I've used. Basically up to now this has cost me nothing because it's all scrap metal. Now, next thing I've done is where the top cover fits here, yeah, fits over this hole, between that hole and that hole. I've ground the sides out as I showed on the other video, well, earlier on. Then what the next thing to do is I'll have to cut across here. Now the way I'll probably do this is drill a series of holes across at the 2 ends. In fact, that one's already got a nice big hole, so just drill some small holes here and then get a cold chisel and just chisel across them. Then once you've taken this piece of metal out, you then just file it through to smooth off the ends. Now this will then be having a AK-47 Kamaya gearbox dropped through, which I will cut a hole underneath for, and I'll be fitting that through there. I'll just go and grab that, show you what it'll look like. Okay, here's the Kamaya CM02 gearbox I've just received. So that's what it looks like. Now, if I put this top cover back on, where's my little spacing device? Just one second. Right, it will give us an overall look like that. Yeah, so the trigger fits out down underneath fine. All the mechanism will fit inside the top cover, but this probably wants to go a little bit further forward, approximately there. Now what I'm expecting is that I might be able to fit a high cap battery under here. If not, it'll have to go up inside the top cover. There should be enough room inside the top cover for one, quite easily, and that'll enable me to change batteries easily if I need to. So I do have the space. Yeah, so that should work out alright. In terms of the hop unit, well, I've still not made a decision on that yet. Yeah, just as a right before I get onto the hop unit, we'll just compare the AK mechanism to the shape of what we've got inside there. You can see it should work out fairly good. I've just got to make a casing to fit this mechanism into, and I think that'll be about 1.5mm steel plate. So I'll just fabricate one up which this can slide into, and I'll pin it through in the or mount it in whichever point it normally uses on these gearboxes, and then what I'll do is I'll rig up a way that the whole base of the whole gearbox and the casing I made will actually fit through to the bottom, and then bolt in position with, say, 2 bolts, one each end, and that should hold the gearbox in and make it easy, so you can just pull it out the top to remove it. Right, back to the hop now. I think the best way to actually feed ammunition into this would be if it was fed in through the side, approximately here, and hidden by a drum magazine of some form in this area. Now, there are a number of drum magazines out on the market. Some of them are electrically fed with batteries, and others are just wound up with a big spring. Now, I haven't decided exactly what is the best option on that. Now, this is the sort of magazine that the MG42 could actually use. Now, if I get this right, it clips on these 2 brackets here, yeah? So you swing that under that point there. I'm going to get this right. Now, where am I doing this correctly? Yeah, and this spring clip around this side latches like so. Yeah, so you then got your whatever combat magazine, so you didn't have an actual belt of ammunition dangling out, and you could just have this clipped on the side. Also, these have a nice little carrying handle on them. Very, very thoughtful. I suppose you could get one of those metal wind up magazines, and you could actually pop rivet a little handle like that onto them. I don't think that would be too demanding. Yeah, so to get them off, you do that. Now, you can see on the original mags there's a hinge on this side, and they're also got ribs running all the way around them. Now that hinge there, on that side there, looks like you could swing that over like so to that position, then that pops open, and that's how you put the belt of ammunition inside them. Quite a nice idea, well thought out. Swinging the handle back over, you can see, locked it. Very clever. You could also have this cover here, which closed the. It's a little bit stiff, this one, needs a bit of oil, but basically this slides over the hole here, so your ammunition was kept, any dirt was kept out the drum until you use it. Yeah, nice idea. Anyway, so the fact is, something like this could be fitted onto the side of the MG42. Yeah. So that'll have to be found. So if I use a hop unit, and it has to be side fed, there's the problem then, because I'll probably have to make my own hop unit, which is essentially a pipe with another pipe going in through the side, and then a mounting for some configuration of magazine to connect up to it. So that will have to be worked out. The other option is I use a standard hop unit and cut a hole in the bottom and fit a magazine through the bottom, but also have this on the side, and somehow rig it so that the feed from this is then taken up into a hop unit through the base. So go work that one out yet. But until I worry about that, I can still get along with cutting this out here and making the trigger, so making the gearbox mountings. I can work all that out, then worry about the hop later on. Okay, I'll get on with it then. Okay, I've just centre punched a row of dots across here, and one each side of this hole here, and have drilled them through with a 1/4 inch or 6mm drill. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use this chisel to chisel across the holes, and then do the same possibly at the other end. But what I suspect is once I've chiseled out this end, broken that off, I can then just put my finger in here and fold this up, and it'll just snap off across here. So that should make it quite easy. And there we are. Quite easy when you know how. So then all I have to do is put that in the vise. Get a nice rough file. File that flat at the two ends. Could use the angle grinder a little bit, but a file, a good quality rough file should do the job okay. Okay, I've done a little bit more work on this. Top cover is almost there. I've got to do a little bit more fancy detail work. Putting some of the stampings on the top of this. They'd normally be stamped from the inside outwards, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut some steel plate, fit them on the top and weld them, grind them back, and they should look okay. It's also going to have the top cover latch mechanism or catch mechanism fitted on here. We've got to do that. They're really sort of like things towards the end of all this. The more important stuff really is to do the internals. As you saw earlier, I've cut this top out here. That's sorted out. Now this brings me, if I put the top cover back on, leaving the bolt out of it at the moment. Right, I started to think about the gearbox which I ordered. Now, what I've basically done, I've put this in a link at the side of the video, but I've basically placed the gearbox on some gridded paper, graph paper, whatever you call it, and I've drawn around the gearbox using a square to make sure that it was actually parallel down to the paper on all my marking points. So I basically marked off all the turning points on the page and linked them all up with a rule to basically get a line drawing around the gearbox. Then I've worked out the best fit in terms of making a grip and trigger guard system to go around it. I'll show this in the video, probably just about here. Yeah. Okay. Right. So I've worked out the dimensions for the gearbox positioning so that the air nozzle here is approximately 2.5 centimeters up from the outer casing of the 50mm box section. So that puts me smack in the center, so my barrel configuration will be right through the middle of the gun, as it should be. Yeah, now there's one point here, there's a hole right through the gearbox casing. Now I'm presuming that's a fixing point for the gearbox, so I'll be using that. Not having stripped an Airsoft AK down, I don't know how they're normally fitted. I suspect they're just a very good fit inside the casing internals. But what I'm planning on doing at the moment, I may change my mind as time goes by. What I'm planning on doing at the moment is I'm going to make sure that the front section of the gearbox here sits down on a piece of metal, or pad it with a piece of plastic or something, and then clamp down over the top, probably with with a machine screw on each side and a plate going across, so that will hold it down. So between that point there and that point there, that should hopefully secure the gearbox well enough. Obviously I'll drill a hole in the outer grip casing so that there's a bolt running right through it. Now that basically brings me to that sort of a shape once I mark it out on steel plate. This is only 1mm thick steel plate. I've made 2 sides for it, yeah, and this fits around the gearbox. Like so. Yeah, I've still got to trim this little piece off here. I left that in case I wanted to bend the metal up, but I probably won't do that. Now, problem is this grip is quite chunky, so I may look into resolving that, but I've got quite a large hand, so I can handle it. We'll see. I might have to take the dimensions in a little bit on this. Okay, this is how I believe the layout should look once I start putting this together. We should have something along those lines. How's that look? Yeah, I'll just take this off again for now. Now, the dilemma that I've got at the moment is one I mentioned briefly earlier. Because I'm probably going to be feeding the ammunition in through the side of the gun, that gearbox will probably be slightly higher up in the around centre. Right, because that's going to be fed through the side of the gun in some sort of a dummy drum mag like this. It's what sort of hot unit to use and what position to actually fix this trigger, because at the moment I've got a certain amount of flexibility on this. I could mount the whole trigger mechanism half an inch further backwards if necessary, and it wouldn't look that much out of place. If it saved me a lot of problems later on, it would be better to move the gearbox further back. Now, we've got various options. If I was to be using some sort of a standard magazine, get these magazines all the same way around. This is an MP5 magazine. Not very broad, so it gives you a bit of flexibility in terms of its positioning into the side of the gun. Downside with it is, because it's quite narrow, the actual rigidity of the fixing, if you use an actual fixing intended by the mag, is not going to be quite as strong. If it's broader, it probably gives you a more substantial connection to the gun. Right, so we've got the MP5, we've got an M16 mag, or a M15 mag, and then we've got the old reliable AK mag. You can see the positions of the ammunition feed are quite different. The M16 and MP5 are fairly similar in some respects. That's having them all curved, so this is the front end. Now, it's only the AK that actually brings the ammunition feed closer back to the air nozzle position, which is here on the gun. So it all depends on the configuration, how I make the hop unit. Now, some people would say, well, just use a conventional magazine and pop it in through the side like that. Now, the problem with an airsoft magazine, particularly a high cap one, not much of a problem with a low cap one. A low cap one just uses a spring inside it, which is compressed, and you feed the ammunition in through the port on the top. With a high cap mag, the ammunition is poured in here, like so, and then wound up with a ratchet. Now, if this magazine's on its side or upside down, you can't actually tension the BBs in the ratchet mechanism. They will only work if the ratchet mechanism is at the base, and you'll see the BBs will wind up. There you are. If they're in any other plane, even potentially on an angle like that, they will work, but possibly not as well. We can prove this if I just take that off there, pull the BBs out. Now, if I put that on approximately a 45-degree angle, it will probably still work, but not as well. Yeah, still working. So, in that case, as the I think the M249 gun, that actually works by using a magazine in on an angle like that. So I could do that, but it's not going to look quite as good. Having said that, it'll all be hidden inside the trusty old drum magazine, stuck on the side. Oh, put it the right way round. Stuck on the side. So, the other problem is a hop unit will not work off a conventional gun if you're feeding the ammunition in through the side, because most hop units take their ammunition feed in through the base, and the actual hop, which operates on the barrel, which gives backspin, happens through well, basically there's a little rubber tube which fits over the barrel, and basically the hop works by a piece of plastic or whatever pushing down into pushing the rubber down into this small aperture on the back of the barrel here. Now the hop basically gives backspin to the BB, and putting backspin on a BB basically means as the BB spins in the air, it spins backwards. Let's see, what sort of analogy? A golf ball doesn't, well, let's see, does a golf ball work in that way? Possibly not. But basically, by putting backspin on the BB, it means that the shot carries straighter for a further distance when it's flying through the air. So that's the need for a hop unit. So basically the hop unit part is really essentially just the bit which puts the backspin on. The rest of it is pretty much a breech system, which works with the air nozzle and the tube that feeds in through the sides. So it's a hop unit is really a breech and a hop unit. So it's going to be it's going to need a hop system on the top, and the breech component's got to be through the side or at a 45-degree angle. Now, I mentioned the M249. Now, it could be worth me just buying an M249 hop unit or having a look at what one looks like. So I have a few decisions to make. Now, another option is, I previously mentioned this, the insides of this magazine. Quickly open it again. You could cut up a standard M16 magazine, get the mechanism out the bottom, the ratchet mechanism, cut a slot in the casing underneath, and fit that inside here. Yeah, so that could be worked. Then it would need some sort of plating inside here to ensure that all the BBs that are inside the case always flow into the hop mechanism, into the ratchet winding mechanism of the mag. Then I'd have to take a pipe coming out of the tube which is inside this magazine, feed that up through there, through the side of the drum, anywhere here, and take it into the hop unit in the gun. So there's a few things to decide on here. If I make my own magazine system by maybe adapting one of these, I believe you can buy these for £25 on the internet. So you can fit one, butcher a magazine and fit it inside this, or the other options are what I'll show you on the web now. Right, this is a website called World Wide Web sunarms.com. It's not in the UK, so it's unlikely that I would buy from them, but they seem to have quite a few products which are listed here. First of all, we've got an AK drum magazine here. Now, this shows the insides. It's an electric magazine. This takes 4 what are they, AA batteries? Let's see, yeah, AA, powered by 4 AA batteries, suitable for AK series. Capacity 3,000 round capacity, made by Hero Arms. Now, let's see, my browser will take a little while. I've got a bit of some sort of a bug in it at the moment, so yeah, so it is a drum magazine. You can see the shape of it just there. If I zoom in, it's not that close to the original one, but it's not too bad, and it's priced at $49. $49 in the States. It'd probably be about £100 in the UK, the way things work. So if we go, what else have we got here? One I quite like the look of, if I can find it. Yeah, no, they've not actually got it shown on here. I think I've got it on, yeah, Wolf Armories .co.uk. They actually have an AK magazine shown here, which is just a manual wind-up one, and it's priced. Oh, there's the browser popped up on the Hero Arms magazine. Doesn't look too bad. It's plastic, that one. This here, this winder, is just a dummy one made out of metal. It says on the web page. It looks like a plastic moulding to me, though. Anyway, get that out of the way. This is the back to the top magazine. This is for the AK, but they do this magazine for MP5s, AKs and M16s, and it's made out of metal. What the metal is, it doesn't say. It might be aluminium, might be steel, and it's priced at £39.99 with some postage on top, I presume. The only drawback is, as it says at the bottom here, please note this item can easily be overwound, unlike other high cap magazines. So that's a bit of a drawback. If you're out in the field and you overwind the thing, they don't specify whether you can unjam the overwound spring that's inside it. If they don't specify that you can fix the thing if you do overwind it, it's a bit of a problem to try and sell, isn't it? Yeah. The other thing is, like I previously mentioned, will these magazines feed ammunition up if they're mounted on their sides? Somehow I doubt it, but it could be that you could modify the inside of it to make it work. This here is the front of the magazine towards the barrel, so you'd have to put your hand round the front of the drum and wind it like so. You can see that down in the picture here on the AK. So the narrow end of the magazine is towards the front of the gun, as makes sense because that's how a standard magazine would be. And it would look not too bad on the gun, particularly if this section here, if this part was cut down shorter, it would fit into the side of the gun quite well. Anyway, that's a magazine dilemma I'm having at the moment, and until I work out what I've got to do on this, I'm at a little bit of a block as to where to go. Anyway, if anyone wants to give me some feedback on any of this, just get in touch through YouTube.